Giannis Antetokounmpo, there should have been a spacing problem. A 7-footer handling the ball, living in the paint, and shooting below 30% from three in multiple seasons is supposed to shrink the floor. Defenses are supposed to back up, build a wall, and dare him to become something he is not. But Giannis turned that weakness into a different kind of gravity. He didn't pull defenders out. He dragged them inward. His usage climbed near superstar levels. His true shooting lived in the mid-60s, and his free throw pressure became its own offense. Then the resume stopped sounding normal. MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals champion, and one of the most physically impossible playoff runs ever. Modern NBA math says a non-shooting star should eventually get solved. Giannis didn't solve the math. He overpowered it. Shawn Marion's jumper looked like a mistake somebody forgot to correct. The release came from his chest. The motion was short, stiff, almost rushed. In another career, that shot gets rebuilt before a coach trusts him with real minutes. Marion never rebuilt it. He just built everything else. He ran the floor like a guard, rebounded like a big, defended wings, blocked shots, jumped passing lanes, and scored without needing the offense to stop for him. In Phoenix, he could finish a fast break, clean the glass, guard 4 positions, and still give you 20 points on efficient nights. The weird part was not that he survived with ugly mechanics. It was that the ugliness distracted people from how complete he was. Before the league had a clean label for positionless forwards, Marion was already playing like one. Ben Wallace is the kind of player modern roster logic would try to erase. He averaged under 6 points for his career. He could not space the floor. He was not a post threat. He could not be trusted at the free throw line. He was undersized for a center, and he went undrafted. On paper, that is not a championship anchor. In Detroit, it became the backbone of one. Wallace made offense feel almost irrelevant because his defense was so extreme. He rebounded, protected the rim, broke possessions, and turned every drive into a punishment test. The 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards were not built on pretty highlights. They were built on control. He gave Detroit a defensive system instead of just defensive plays. A center with almost no scoring should have been a liability. Wallace turned that absence into a Hall of Fame resume. Charles Barkley should not have dominated as a power forward. He was not tall for the position. He was not a rim protector. He was not a stretch big. His career three-point percentage sat around 26.6%, so defenses did not have to chase him outside. In theory, an undersized power forward with no spacing and no elite shot blocking should get trapped between roles. Barkley ignored the theory. He used leverage, hips, positioning, and timing to beat players who were several inches taller than him on the glass. He scored with brutal efficiency, finishing his career at 54.1% from the field and clearing 60% true shooting in multiple seasons. Nothing about the profile looked clean. Not the size, not the shooting, not the defensive archetype. But in 1993, he was still the MVP. Isaiah Thomas was 5 feet 9 inches. That number alone should have ended the conversation. A player that's small is not supposed to be the first option on the best team in the Eastern Conference. He is not supposed to average nearly 29 points per game. He is not supposed to close games while every defense knows exactly where to attack him. But in 2016-17, Thomas did all of it. Boston put the ball in his hands. Opponents hunted him defensively, dragged him into pick and rolls, and forced him to live inside a size disadvantage. Then he punished them on the other end with speed, angles, pull-ups, and foul pressure. The strangest part was the timing. The later the game got, the more dangerous he became. He did not just survive as a tiny guard. He carried an offense. Paul Millsap did not enter the league with an all-star profile. He was the 47th pick. He was not an explosive athlete. He was undersized for a power forward. He did not arrive with one obvious skill that forced the league to pay attention. Players like that usually become solid rotation pieces, then quietly fade from memory. Millsap took the other route. From the beginning, his rebounding rate per minute was serious. Then he added scoring, then defense, then passing, then later enough shooting to stretch his prime into a different version of himself. He never needed one loud breakout season to explain the career. He kept improving piece by piece, year by year, until a normal second-round pick became a 4-time All-Star. No single skill screamed superstar, but the whole package became too useful to remove. If you like NBA stories that break the scouting report, subscribe. Back to it. Jalen Brunson should have been too small, too slow, and too ordinary for this kind of responsibility. He was the 33rd pick. He is around 6 feet 2 inches. He does not have elite length. He is not a vertical athlete. He does not scare defenders with instant burst. And the strangest part is that his game runs through tools small guards are not supposed to build around: post-ups, footwork, deceleration, strength, and mid-range control. But that lack of obvious explosion is exactly what makes him hard to read. Brunson does not beat defenders by racing past them. He beats them by changing the rhythm. He gets them leaning, seals them with his body, and creates a shot before the help defender can arrive. A small guard without elite athletic gifts should have a ceiling. Brunson turned that ceiling into an offensive system. Jimmy Butler does not fit the clean offensive profile of a modern superstar. He is not a volume three-point shooter. He is not a regular season stat machine every night. He did not enter the league as a ready-made scoring engine. In a lot of systems, that kind of wing is supposed to be missing something important. But the playoffs tell a different story. The deeper the series gets, the slower the game becomes, the more physical it turns, and the more Butler's value grows. He draws fouls, attacks mismatches, passes out of traps, and defends like he still has another game left in his legs. In the 2020 Finals, he dropped a 40-point triple-double against the Lakers. Then in Game 5, he came back with 35 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and 5 steals. Not through pretty shooting, not through flashy athleticism. Butler wins through pressure. Kyle Lowry did not look like the central guard of a championship team. He was around 6 feet tall. He was not a 25-point-per-game scorer. He was not a highlight athlete. And for most of his career, his scoring sat in the useful range, not the range that bends an entire defensive game plan. But Lowry won in the areas the box score tends to blur. He controlled possessions. He took charges. He rebounded from the guard spot. He passed without turning the game into a mistake factory. He defended with strength, timing, and constant irritation. Toronto did not need Lowry to be the biggest scoring star on the 2019 title team. They needed him to manage the rhythm, hold the structure, calm the offense, and steal back the small possessions casual viewers miss. A guard without a massive scoring ceiling is supposed to be support. Lowry turned support into a championship foundation. Chuck Hayes was around 6 feet 6 inches and played center in the NBA. That sentence already sounds wrong. He was not a stretch five. He was not a vertical rim runner. He was not a traditional shot blocker. He did not have a scoring package that forced defenses to adjust. For his career, he averaged around 3.7 points per game, and he had no three-point shot to pull opposing centers away from the paint. But Hayes survived through things highlights barely show: leverage, positioning, lower body strength, the ability to read rebounding angles and claim space before taller players could even jump. He guarded big men several inches taller, held his ground, passed smartly from the high post, and found value without needing touches. A 6-foot 6-inch center with almost no offense should not have lasted. Hayes lasted through IQ and leverage. Fred VanVleet went undrafted. Not late in the second round. Not barely selected. Completely passed over. For a small guard without elite explosion and without dominant rim finishing, that is usually the league telling you the door is almost closed. VanVleet forced it open with the jumper. He did not need to jump over anyone. He did not need to win through size. He created space with pull-up threes, pick-and-roll control, defensive pressure, and the kind of shooting threat that makes defenders respect him as soon as he crosses half court. In 2019, he became a key piece of Toronto's championship run. After that, he became an all-star, scored 54 points in a game, and turned an undrafted profile into something impossible to ignore. The NBA did not pick him. VanVleet made the league check again. Marcus Smart spent much of his career as a guard shooting under 40% from the field. For a ball handler, that is usually a serious problem. It can get you removed from closing lineups. He was not a traditionally efficient scorer. He was not the kind of shooter who terrified defenses every night. But Boston kept him on the floor because Smart disrupted the game on a different layer. He pressured the ball, read rotations, took charges, switched onto bigger players, threw himself into possessions other guards avoided. In 2022, he became the first guard since Gary Payton in 1996 to win Defensive Player of the Year. That was a 26-year gap in a league where the award almost always belongs to big men. An inefficient offensive guard is supposed to be questioned constantly. Smart turned defensive chaos into an identity. These players did not win because their profiles were perfect. They won because one strange part of their game was pushed to an extreme. And sometimes in the NBA, that is enough to break the entire scouting report.